I'm Hawk, and this is Talk of Better Worlds. Today I'd like to subject you to a rant and ramble about CRPGs and the gaming industry while I show some Baldur's Gate 3 gameplay. Sit back, do something else, and listen if you'd like. Before I get into everything, the gameplay in this video is all from Act 1 and has only minor spoilers. When you hear the words isometric or CRPG, what games come to mind? For me, the first game I think of is Baldur's Gate. Not Baldur's Gate 3, but the first one. I remember the first time I booted it up back in the day, and I was a bit too young to really know what I was doing, but I came back to it later with the Enhanced Edition on my tablet at the time, when it first hit the store. I had some nostalgia for it, but really no memory of it. Not any details, at least. I got addicted to it almost immediately. After beating it, I wanted to play Baldur's Gate 2, but got sidetracked by other things. Eventually, 2014 came around, and a game called Divinity Original Sin came out. It looked really good and had high review ratings, so I picked it up on my Xbox One. Now, I'd never heard of the old Divinity games at the time, and I never heard of Larian Studios either. Little did I know just how much I'd come to love their games. I noticed almost immediately just how different Original Sin was from most other RPGs of its kind. You can level up specific class styles, kind of fitting within the archetypes, but it's of your own choosing. But you could easily multi-class as well. Not being bound to a class archetype is always welcome in my opinion, though traditional class structure can be okay if it's done well enough. What I really loved about Divinity Original Sin, however, is how open-ended the problem-solving is, and how you could basically fix anything or do anything however you see fit. For instance, if you're fighting an enemy that uses fire spells or attacks, you can grab some water vessels or barrels and just destroy them in your team's vicinity to soak in water, making fire kind of worthless. If there's a ranged enemy that you want to hinder, you could throw some fire at their feet and then put it out with water to create steam. You could make a wall of boxes to create your own mobile kill zones, making larger groups more manageable, unless they happen to climb over those boxes or break them. These are just the surface of how you can solve problems, both in and out of combat. Have a vent spitting poison gas out and no way to disable it? Cover it with something, like a box. Boxes are pretty useful. It felt so freeing to be able to fix things the way I wanted to, or use the environment to my advantage, use what I have available to me in the moment. As far as I know, I can't think of any other RPGs that let you do stuff like that, or to that degree at least. Well, none outside of Original Sin 1, 2, and Larian's best game yet, in my opinion, Baldur's Gate 3. Each of these games improved drastically on the things that made the last ones great. Not only was the gameplay awesome, but the stories were amazing as well. Larian has made 3 games that, in my opinion, have drastically changed our idea of what an isometric RPG can be. This doesn't mean that the old ones or other new ones are bad by any means. I love the old Baldur's Gate games. I've gone back and dipped into the old Divinity games too. I love Pillars of Eternity, which reminds me of how excited I am for the upcoming Avowed. The new Rogue Trader 40k game is incredible too. But Larian's RPGs seem to be an amazing blend of what makes both CRPGs and more conventional RPGs so good. Very few games feel as free and open while still managing to present a coherent and frankly damn good story, at least in my own experience. I waited to play Baldur's Gate 3 until it was out of early access because I was too hopeful and didn't want to have to stop playing at any point. I wanted the full product. I played it a bit after 1.0 dropped, and then stopped because life kind of got in the way. Only recently have I picked it up again, and oh boy did it suck me in. At this point I've beaten it once, but have gotten deep into Act 3 on a few characters, and gone to Act 2 with innumerable more. Each new character I make, I like to test new things. I do this with every game that I play wherever choices are available. I make different choices and I try to see what I missed before. Often when I do this with games, I find that most choices are binary, and most encounters have only one trigger or they only happen at one fixed time. With Baldur's Gate 3, after 351.5 hours played at the time of this video, I still haven't seen everything the game has to offer. I've only ever really experienced anything close to this with a Bethesda Game Studio game, but the difference between a game like Skyrim and Baldur's Gate 3 is like the difference between night and day. The quality of Baldur's Gate 3 far surpasses most games I've played. What I find most important, though, is the care Larian Studios put into the game. I feel like too many games lack the care and love they put into Baldur's Gate 3. This is why a lot of people from other studios seem to be pretty worried about this new standard. And it should be the new standard. Too much media that comes from the biggest corporations on the planet seem to lack heart or any artistic drive. We should hold these companies to a higher standard. Lately, we've been seeing what I believe is a renaissance in gaming. It seems like the big studios can put out games that play it safe and make tons of money, but not many people seem to stick to them for that long. They also don't really seem to talk about them much. In my own experience, I've seen more people talk about more smash-hit indie games in the last few years than anything else. Usually when a AAA game comes out, I hear about how bad it is, or about how disappointed everyone is in it. Now, I'm sure there's something to be said for our culture and how algorithms and such seem to push more outrage than praise, but I really do feel like we're in the age of the indie game. Now, would I consider Larian Studios an indie dev today? Probably not. But they certainly were before Baldur's Gate 3. I think that it's easier for a small studio to make an incredible game and, more importantly, get noticed by everyone today than it's ever been. It's never been a better time to start holding companies that make lackluster products feet to the fire. Baldur's Gate 3's strengths cannot be applied to all games, nor should they. But love for the art and passion were at the core of the game's development. And those two things should be applied to everything we make. Now is the time to start demanding that bigger companies with much larger wallets take a page from Larian's book and stop trying to siphon money from us all. They make games that have no end, shallow stories, terrible mechanics, oppressive UIs, unrelenting and predatory monetization, pointless activities, the same 5 voice actors, horrible writing, and god-awful optimization, among so many other things. I get that games and the wider industry are a business like any other, but it doesn't change the fact that it's also art. The insane time I've spent in Baldur's Gate 3 and the stupid amount of time I intend to spend playing it further have just been a constant reminder of the greater situation in the gaming industry. So please, Megacorps, I know no one will hear this, but let me repeat the wise words of an internet sage. I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less, and no, I'm not kidding. Thank you for listening.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Give us a like if you enjoyed it, and dislike it if you didn't.
Let us know what you think about the channel.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Tell your mom.